Hey fellow gamers, I've been playing the Balls of Light Sorcerer, and it's definitely the most fun and most powerful build that I've played so far, and I want to show you exactly how it works. With the Balls of Light Sorcerer, there's not one particular thing that makes it amazing, it's a whole bunch of things in combination working together to boost and multiply your damage. I've structured my build mostly off of d4builds.gg and Maxroll, so I'll put those two links in the description so you can have a look for yourself. Check out the Paragon boards because they definitely make a difference, and if you're not familiar with the Paragon system, you'll want to follow something at least for the first run through. I'll give you a quick overview of the skill tree and point out a few skills that I think make the build amazing. Also apply to a lot of other builds too if you don't want to go Balls of Light. We'll take a quick look at some of the gear that I'm using, and I will point out a couple items on the Paragon board that I think are essential to making the build that much better. Oh, and let's not forget one of the vampiric powers that also makes this unstoppable. Before we look at the skills too closely, let's keep in mind that we're not running a basic skill for this build. So if your gear isn't quite up to par, you might want to modify it a little bit so that you can generate mana a little bit more consistently, because some of what we're doing is based off having a lot of mana. The first skill that I'm going to point out is Elemental Dominance, so that makes your core and mastery skills deal 9% increased damage when cast above 50 mana. As a sorcerer, almost all the builds, in my opinion, run at least 3 of 4, if not all 4 defensive spells. And that's just the way it goes. Because they're all built on cooldowns, they fit nicely into the skill bar. Ice Armor in particular is good for regenerating mana. So this first one here, Enhanced Ice Armor, your mana regeneration is increased by 25%. You've also got Flame Shield, and it heals you for 50% of your missing life. If you find that you're tanky enough, you can also apply Mystical Flame Shield, and that gives you 25% mana cost reduction while your Flame Shield is active. Now, Flame Shield's not up for very long, a couple seconds, but it might be great to pump out a whole bunch of lightning balls. We're running Glass Cannon. I think every single sorcerer build should run that because that's basically what you are. We run a few things that offer us damage reduction and fortify. One of the best things, and I've spoken about this before, is Devouring Blaze. So if you use up one of your enchantment slots and you drop in Firebolt, the enchantment effect means that direct damage from any skill applies burning damage. So if we couple that together with Devouring Blaze, we deal 21% increased critical strike damage against burning enemies. So everyone's burning, so we're always going to be dealing extra critical strike damage to them. The other thing that keeps our mana charged is Invigorating Conduit. So upon absorbing crackling energy, we gain 12 mana. So those little blue balls on the ground, if you pick those up, you're going to get 12 mana every time. So running around and collecting those while you're in a fight is going to keep your mana fully charged. So our damage dealer, obviously, it's Ball Lightning. We've also got Unstable Currents, and that's going to summon things like Lightning Spear and Chain Lightning. And then we've also got Crackling Energy hitting stuff from time to time. So there's quite a number of things stacking up. So we're getting a lot of hits. We're proccing a lot of lucky hits. So everything that we've got on our gear is going to be proc quite frequently. For key passives, you can run Vire's Mastery. I've also seen some people run Isu's Ferocity. That's kind of up to you and your playstyle. They both work in my opinion. Now, as far as the gear goes, I am running 4 uniques on this build. I don't expect everyone has these uniques right out of the gate. So I'll look at them and then show you a couple of the affixes that you'd want on the gear in replacement of some of these uniques. So first things first, we got Godslayer Crown. It's great because if we freeze or stun an enemy, we deal extra damage to them, especially bosses. It's really nice. Definitely you'd want cooldown reduction, max life, damage, total armor, something like that. A lot of aspects that you can run, and there are a lot of things that work, and frankly, not that many of them are essential except the few that I'm going to show you. Raven of the Infinite, I think we've all seen this one, but after teleporting, close enemies are pulled to you and stunned, so now they're crowd controlled, which is fantastic because we deal extra damage to them. We've got Glass Cannon, damage to close enemies. We've got Intelligence. We could have total armor, damage reduction from close enemies. All of those will be good. Maybe even max life. For gloves, definitely want that attack speed, critical strike chance. You can go with lucky hit. You can go with a skill. You can get lightning critical strike damage like I've got. A lot of options there as well. Definitely want this aspect, which deals more damage to vulnerable enemies while we have a barrier up. We often have either ice armor or flame shield up, so this is fantastic. We've got Tibalt's Will. This one's terrific because we deal increased damage whenever we become unstoppable. Anytime we teleport, we become unstoppable. And that vampiric power that I was talking about, Metamorphosis. Whenever we evade, we become unstoppable. So we're unstoppable twice. As for the attributes, we've got damage, we've got max resource. These aren't particularly great. Damage reduction from close is good. We could get again total armor, max life, maybe even skills to ball lightning. That would be great if you don't have this unique. We've got Flicker Step as the boot. These are my personal favorite for this build because Unstable Currents takes so long to cool down that every time we evade through enemies, it reduces our active ultimate cooldown by 2 to 4 seconds, up to 10 seconds. So if we evade multiple times through, we can have Unstable Currents ready to go before it's even expired. Again, for the affixes on the boots, we've got stats, movement speed, damage reduction from close. Again, we can go for that total armor. Definitely want the movement speed in there. That's by far my favorite thing to have on any pair of boots. We can also get skills to teleport, skills to ball lightning. These will both be very good. For our weapon, we've got a dagger because it gives us that damage to close. We always want damage to close because we're in close quarters, especially with Raiment of the Infinite. We're teleporting in, sucks everybody towards us. That's close. We've got lightning critical strike damage, all stats. We could have intelligence in there, lucky hit if you've got more lucky hit proc stuff. This aspect is probably the most important aspect to have, and it's ball lightning orbits around you. For our focus, we've got intelligence, we've got lucky hit, you could have critical strike chance, we've got mana generation and resource generation. Can't stress how important both of those are. Definitely resource generation and mana cost reduction. Both good. For our rings, we've got a combination of critical strike damage, lightning crit damage, lucky hit, resource generation. We've also got max life on this one. And again, more critical strike damage. Here we could go for a combination of different things. We could even get damage reduction from close or damage to close as well. For amulet, love that movement speed. I've got something with total armor and damage reduction from close because I find I need a little bit more tankiness. Maybe even something like damage reduction in total would be good. I think you can get that. And then we've got ranks to defense. That's not the best. I'd probably go for ranks to mastery or maybe even ranks to glass cannon for a little more damage. But I think we've got enough damage, so it's nice to get that defensive skill buff. And once again, this aspect, deal increased damage while you have a barrier, is very important at dealing more damage. Lastly, we've got the Paragon Boards. I'm not really going to go too much into the Paragon Boards because it's way too much, but if I had one tip, I'd say focus on the rare nodes. If you path through the board to some of the rare nodes that you think work for you, for example, 20% vulnerable damage with intelligence. Maybe you want non-physical damage. That's pretty good. Here's damage reduction from vulnerable. You'll find that you end up pathing your way through the boards, rotate them around so you can get the glyphs as much as possible. The legendary nodes, I think for the most part, are quite useless for the sorcerer. Your enchantments are 20% stronger, who cares about that? And you'll find that the Paragon boards start to become a lot simpler. Don't focus as much on the magic or normal nodes. There are a lot of nice magic nodes. Fill those out if you've been going for one of those rare nodes or you're already within that glyph area. As far as playstyle goes for the build, you're basically going to run in there, teleport to stun and suck everybody towards you, evade out of there while the whole time you're activating ball lightning. So they're constantly flying around you. The more that you evade through enemies, the quicker your ultimate is going to come back, and you can just keep that up and running almost the whole time, especially if you're running high nightmare dungeons where you've got a lot of enemies. If you're on a boss, you can also evade back and forth through, proccing that ultimate all the time. Let me know what you thought of the build and what you've done differently in your build and what works for you. Leave a comment. Well, I hope that video helped and it gave you a little something to think about and maybe taught you a few things about the sorcerer that you didn't know. If it did, please hit that like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss future content. You can also catch me over on Twitch. The link is going to be in the description. And as always, thanks for watching. This was Not Adam Driver, and I'll catch you on the next one.